Oh man, good morning. I just want to tell you this morning that there is no one else like Jesus. Oh, there's no one else like him. He astounds me every single day. And you know what's the funny thing is I don't know why I'm always surprised. I don't understand it. You know God can and you know God will, and he surprises me every single time, and every time I'm surprised. Then again, I wouldn't be saying this if I wasn't. But it really is weird that we can just not figure him out. We can't. When you think you're at a dead end, when you think you know it all, God just comes and shows you, listen, but there's more. And in such a truly phenomenal, magnificent way that you don't break yourself. You're not broken. You're not condemned. He just does it in such a beautiful, loving fashion. Man, if I can learn to do it that way when I know somebody's wrong and just do it, learn His way to the T of helping somebody. Not trying to prove that they're stupid, not trying to prove that I'm better than anything, because that's not what I'm when I'm trying to do it. But people seem to take it that way often in life. Our egos and prides are things that are terrible things. Anyway, that being said, I have an interesting one this morning that I've been pondering on. Let me just get it at the front here. And it's something that I'm sure that you've heard a great many a times even in your life, in either some way or another, and that is the phrase, this too shall pass. And I've been pondering on this a bit, and it's really true, but not often. Just, it's not something you take at face value, I think, or it's not something we should, because it doesn't, the times don't pass because of the ways we think often. That's how I feel, at least. Good things don't um good things and good times don't only end because of this too shall pass, but it's because that it forms part of the growth that we need to go through in our lives. It's, if you get your time to celebrate. There's the tough times, the challenging times where the growth really takes place, and then in the good times that stuff settles in, it gets stuck into your being, and then it's time for the next time. So the good time, if we want to call it the good time, the rest, the peace, the contentment, the contentful time maybe, comes to an end because the next chapter of growth needs to start. And especially if in the areas of, if like me, you strive to be like Jesus, you strive to be closer to God, to fulfill your purpose and the calling that God has put upon your life. And also because the enemy is not going to leave you alone while you walk. But it's not only the enemy that throws us into difficult things, we throw ourselves into it sometimes because we have that free will thing. Our decisions that we make are still our own. So we can make a little doff decision here and there and make us seem like a bit of a chop. You look at yourself at the end and go, yes, man, that was doff guy. But that doesn't mean you are doff when you make a doff decision. Just remember that. We have moments, we are people, we make mistakes. So the references that I've searched for to this is, there's a fable that speaks of King Solomon that started this, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was, because he was the wisest man that ever lived. But I don't see it I couldn't find it this morning that it was directly said anywhere in the Bible that it is biblical that King Solomon actually said this and did this thing. So for the sake of what I could find, they call it a fable, so I'll call it a fable. And it's really a nice story. And throughout the history and centuries and stuff, different people used it. I think there was a reference to Abe Lincoln that I read that also used the phrase, but I'm not that familiar with that side of history of life. Anyway, in Deuteronomy 28, before King Solomon's time, in verse 1 and 2, it says, "Now it shall come to pass," kind of close, "that if you diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God, to observe carefully all his commandments which I command you today, that the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, because you obey the voice of the Lord your God." Then it gives you a list of, you will be blessed in the city, you will be blessed in the country, the fruit of your body will be blessed, the produce of your ground will be blessed, etc., etc. A whole list of things. If you want to know what can happen in your life if you obey God, go read Deuteronomy 28. But then a little bit further, if you also want to know what's going to happen and can happen, if you don't, you look at verse 15 and it says, "But it shall come to pass, this too shall pass, that if you do not obey the voice of the Lord your God, to observe carefully all his commandments and his statutes, which I command you today, that all these curses will come upon you and overtake you." And then a list of things that will happen there. So it will, but it will come to pass. I actually like it. Maybe I should learn to say that one instead, because you can really use it for the good thing. If times are tough, but it shall come to pass that things will get good. And if you also in the tough times, it was, but this too shall pass. But it's important to know that it doesn't come to an end because life is unfair or life is fair, or it doesn't. It's all about the growth. It's about, you always hear that change is the only constant. And as I said, it doesn't seem like the story, and I'll share the story a little bit about, maybe you have not heard it yet, is linked to King Solomon. But again, I say that it wouldn't surprise me if it was him that said it, because of the fact that he's the wisest person that have ever lived. And that we see in the Bible is in two places. The first one, the main one that points this out to me personally, is 1 Kings 3 verse 12. It says, "Behold, I have done according to your words. See, I have given you wisdom." This is the time when God asks Solomon what he wants. He'll give him anything. And Solomon asked for wisdom to lead God's people. And he says, "I have done according to your word. See, I have given you a wise and understanding heart, so that there has not been anyone like you before you, nor shall any like you arise after you." So there was nobody as wise as him before him, and there will be nobody like him, as wise as him after him. And then in 1 Kings chapter 4 and verse 29, it says, "And God gave Solomon wisdom and exceedingly great understanding." That's a big word, that word, exceedingly. "And largeness of heart, like the sand on the seashore. Thus Solomon's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the men of the East and all the wisdom of Egypt, for he was wiser than all men." And then they name a bunch of the very great wise people in the time. So the story that I saw and recently stumbled upon actually came that the king, if it was King Solomon, let's say it was, King Solomon gave a guy an impossible task because he wanted to humble one of his servants. That's one of the versions that I found on this. He wanted to humble this servant, and he said to him, "Right, I want something, I want a ring made, that if I am happy and I look at this ring, then I will frown. But if I am sad or worried or stressed or whatever, negative vibes going on, and I look at this ring, that I will smile." And I don't know all the details, I didn't dive in it too far, but that so arises that this guy came and had this ring made, and he came upon the phrase, "This too shall pass." And when you really think of this phrase, it's absolutely the truth, because when times are tough and you walk into something saying that to you, it will make you smile. I'm sure it definitely will make me smile. So it will. I don't know that if, however, where my heart is though, if things are going really great and well with me, because it does every day despite my situations, because there is fullness of joy in the presence of God, my friends. Anyway, but coincidentally, if it goes well and I would see this thing, it would probably give me a bit of a frown. It won't make me sad or worried or stressed, but it will make me frown, because you don't want good things to end, do you? No, we don't. No, we don't. We like good things. We like great things. But the great things make us strive. I feel, for me, I run harder for God when things are going great, because there's nothing to sidetrack me. There's nothing that takes my attention away from God and for what the goal is that I set for myself with Him for that day. When times are stressful and worried and stuff, our focus tends to shift. I've said this often, this is a message I've had so many times, is that when times are tough, because we tend to stare the problem in the face and not look at God. And that's why God keeps coming to me and says, "John, stop looking at the stuff, start looking at me. Look at this, look at the pebble that I gave you. Look at what you have. Look at the staff. Look at the sling you have, and just toss it, bro. Don't worry about this massive giant in front of you. This too shall pass." And so what I just want to let you know, that whatever is happening in your life right now, even if it's not favorable events, it's that this too shall pass. If you're facing financial difficulty, this too shall pass. if there's somebody at your office that is making life impossible to work with, this too shall pass. Even if you're having the time of your life somewhere, this too shall pass. The hows, however, the how things change, the how this shall pass. The hows changes in every situation. And it also depends on your story and your growth that needs to take place for you to go wherever it is you need to go. The whys, however, I've covered one. God's given me one specific why, and I'm very cool with only this one why, because we don't need to. Some whys you'll know, some whys you won't know. But the one why that I do know, and that I'm very much okay with knowing, even if it's the only one that I ever get to know, is that why does this too have to pass, Lord? Because you need to grow, Jean. Because there's more growth that needs to take place in you. Because you need to get stronger in speaking. You need to get stronger in standing up in a crowd. You need to get stronger in speaking in front of a crowd. You need to get stronger in the way you answer people when they are facing tough times. You need to be stronger and better and wiser and etc. in whatever it is that you need to do. So you fill in the why afterwards, but the end of all of that is it's growth. We need to get better at what it is we're doing. So you need to grow into who you are to fulfill your identity and your purpose and your calling in the kingdom of God. People say that change is the only constant. Yes, this too shall pass. I like it. Those two go hand in hand for me. It's raining. This too shall pass. The sun is out. It's shining. It's nice and beautifully hot for the people who like sunny days. I'm not one of them, but I learned to enjoy God's creation. But that too shall pass. I'm failing at the tasks that I have. This too shall pass. Pondering on it this morning and just sharing it with you actually right now reminds me that this too shall pass. I'm currently in a 1-year journey with the Lord, getting these messages every day, and just an instruction that I was told to share them online. This too shall pass. Because there is an end date for this very much daily thing. What's going to happen then? I don't know. The only thing I do know so far is when I get there, it feels like God's going to give me about a week off, and then the next thing is going to start. So we'll see what happens then. But I don't need to bother about then because I'm not there yet. I still have 3 months to go. And oh man, we can't do the same thing. That's why these things need to pass. We can't do the same thing and expect to go somewhere. You're not going to go anywhere if you do the same thing the whole time, because we need to grow. If you do the same thing, you won't go anywhere. If you do the same thing, you won't grow anywhere. And as the encourager side of me is almost starts kicking in towards the end of getting this ready to morning, I just want to encourage you and remind you that no matter what it is that you strive toward, whatever it is that the goal you placed in front of you, whatever challenging situation it is that you're going through, I would like for you to keep going, give it all you've got, because my friend, you keep going, you keep going, you keep going, because this too shall pass.